We finally got a chance to take a look at the Nintendo Switch Lite.
Is it good?
Hot take.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this because Nintendo sent in their brand new Nintendo Switch Lite to us. It's been out for a little while. There's been a lot of conversation online about if it's worth it or not. And, well, I finally had to get in there and get my hands on it and actually play the final retail version.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, it is a mixed bag. I gotta say...
It's good.
It's good.
But
there's things it lost in the transition of being a smaller system, and those are things we're going to talk about today. So first off, let's take out the Nintendo Switches that we have. So we got the ash gray or black or stardust black. I don't know what you want to call this one.
And the slightly darker black original Switch. I'm not joking. It is slightly darker.
Yeah, it's just like slightly darker. It's got the white buttons on the front, which from aesthetic point of view, I like the way that
nice
this
contrast,
looks.
yes.
Yeah.
But this has Joy-Cons.
Yes, it does. That's the difference
here,
here, right? So this is a much smaller unit. It's much lighter as well. But what's going on here is that you've lost the ability to take the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons off from the left and right, which can be a benefit for some. And for me, the benefit is that it becomes a much more stable, hard plastic-like device that typically with Joy-Cons that you can take off, over a while, those tend to get like a little loose, but that's never going to happen with this.
True.
And that's like a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
But
can the Switch Lite do this?
No, it can't. It can't sit up by itself. It can't dock to your TV. It can't do the things that a Nintendo Switch would typically do, which is what the whole name is for. So,
but to be fair, it is like the portable system, the portable console, the not necessarily successor to the Game Boy line, but kind of also the successor to the Game Boy line because there's no Game Boy anymore.
Yes, or DS or 3DS, really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's all gone.
Now, like from a hardware point of view, the systems are almost identical beyond like the Joy-Cons coming out, but also on the bottom left, you've got a D-pad, and the original Joy-Cons on the original Switch do not have D-pads, simply because the controllers can be used individually, and one having a D-pad and the other one having buttons would be very confusing if you were to play a two-player game with them. But on the offset, now that you have that D-pad, and they can't be removed, if you do have a two-player game that uses Joy-Cons, you need to go out and buy separate Joy-Cons to use on your Nintendo Switch Lite, which doesn't dock and doesn't sit up. So I think Nintendo's trying to make a very big statement here that this no longer is the portable multiplayer system. It's just a single handheld experience for one player.
Or it's just like a combination of things. Like I looked at the Switch Lite when it was first announced, and I kind of assumed that this is Nintendo kind of backpedaling a bit because previously their whole big market share thing was that they had a home console and they had a mobile console, and that worked really well for them. But now that the Switch kind of combined the two, they realized, hey, we just put all of our eggs in one basket.
Pretty much.
So I kind of assume that the Switch Lite is the answer to, this is the successor to the DS, because it kind of is. While the original Switch, and potentially Switch Pro, if that ever ends up being actually a thing, is like the replacement for the home console.
Yes, I completely agree. I think that what the Nintendo Switch original is a home console that happens to be portable, where this one, you're definitely looking at this to be a success for portable gaming. I mean, in my opinion, if I had to choose between that model and this model on the go, I'm going with the Lite.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lite is it's much smaller, it's lighter, it's everything I want in a portable system. Plus, I gotta say, you don't even think about this, but we've owned a Nintendo Switch since before it was released retail. Nintendo originally sent this Switch to us for review, and the Joy-Cons on the left and right have gotten loose over time, to a noticeable degree that it feels just a little bit, I don't know, not perfect. So I know this is never going to happen with this, which is nice, but there's also other problems too. We haven't been using the Switch long enough, or the Lite long enough to notice this, but Joy-Con drift is an issue that people have been reporting with the original Switch. That did happen to us, but we got a fixed Joy-Con straight from Nintendo, and I think that's something that I actually very much appreciate about Nintendo. If there is drift in the controller, if there is something like that, Nintendo typically is going to fix those things. This is one of those companies you can kind of trust on that stuff.
True. Now, that's not something that I've ever had an issue with, because anytime that I've used it, it's always been docked, it's always been attached to a TV, and because of the distance, and I don't generally trust the wireless capabilities of the Joy-Cons, because those were a little flaky at the start, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, they were.
I've been using a Pro Controller since day one, ever since I got it, because we have is it the Xenoblade
Yes,
controller?
yeah.
Which
we got
is
a
my
couple of the
favorite.
pro ones. Yeah, I do like the Xenoblade one. That whole that like all the pro controllers. I mean, all those accessories, you can still use them with this, but it's just you wouldn't because you're not going to be in a situation like you'd have to literally sit this one up against the wall or something or a bunch of books.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it happening that way.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like a dock that you could just sit it on that was just charging it constantly, that would be fine. But that's what the Nintendo Switch is.
Yep, and you can't even put it. Well, you probably could plug it into the old dock. It's just no point because you can't see the screen.
You know what? That's something I would not want to recommend to anyone. There was once upon a time where you could plug up a variety of different things to the dock, and it would destroy your Switch. So I don't recommend doing that. Just it comes with an AC adapter. It's the same adapter you use on your original Switch, from what I could tell. I just stuck to using that. I didn't want to roll the dice with any other external devices. It is a USB-C device. But I know that there are issues there, and we've seen them in the past. So as far as I'm aware, I'm just using what's in the box, and I think that's it. But by the way, it is a very bare bones package. When you bought when we got the Nintendo Switch, and originally that came with a bunch of items like the dock, the Joy-Cons themselves, and the little like controller plastic piece in the center that connected the two Joy-Cons together, so you could use that as a controller. This is legitimately just the Switch and an adapter. That's it. It's a very small box.
But it's cheaper.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's a
Immensely
big
cheaper.
thing. Yeah.
Because if this is all you want, if you don't want anything, if you don't want a home console out of the Switch and you want to be able to play it portably, whether that's on the go or on vacation or where have you, this is the better option.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, this is it. Like, if the Switch kept evolving in the direction it was going, I would imagine we'd see a Pro. The last time you and I talked about this, we talked about a Switch Pro coming out.
That we did.
And like what we're seeing here is this is the step before that. Before you make the Pro, you need to make the cheaper, easier to go model, and that's what I think they've done here, and they've done it, I think, very well. Now, there is something I did want to mention. So we do own a Nintendo Switch. Now, in our studio, the Nintendo Switch has a couple accounts on it. We all use the same Nintendo Switch. Like, we're one big happy family. And the Switch Lite is now going to be the second Switch we use in the studio when we're like go on the go somewhere and stuff like that.
But this comes with a certain amount of problems to it, namely as far as game saves.
Yes.
Now, Nintendo has made it so that you can transfer save game files between two Switches, and they haven't been such annoying people about it like other companies, or even Nintendo of years past, and made that a very difficult thing to do or move or what have you. Because generally speaking, these companies want you to have one console and just kind of one console. But Nintendo would love for you to have multiple Switches.
Yes.
The problem is that in order to transfer save files from one Switch to another Switch, you need to do one of two things. The first thing is that you need to pay for their, what's it actually called?
Nintendo Online. Yeah.
Their Nintendo Online service, which would allow you to upload your save files to the cloud, and then either Switch, as long as your account is attached to them, can use the cloud for your saves. But if you don't want to pay for that, there is technically another option. But what it involves is you to have both Switches next to each other. You have to tell both of them to transfer the saves, and it only keeps the save files in one place. So if you're copying the save files from one Switch to another, the first Switch will delete your saves when it's done moving. You can't actually copy them and have copies on both. So if you happen to have two Switches, for whatever reason, and one you leave at home and one you bring along with you, you have to constantly remember to copy your saves manually for every game you want to use on the go every time you leave and come back.
Now, this is interesting because we both have we use the same Switches. Your account is Nintendo Online, or it does not have Nintendo Online, and mine does. So when I use the Switch at home, I was capable of going online through the backup clouds and actually cloud saves, and actually just take my saves from online, and it was like anything else. I honestly cannot see a reason why you would want to avoid using that. Like, it is such a needed feature. For me personally, I would have been so upset had I not had the ability to just download saves. I bought games digitally with a Nintendo Switch Lite so that I could see if those games were downloadable on the other system, and everything seemed to work. If you are paying for Nintendo Switch Online, you're going to have a pretty easygoing experience. If you install the game and it doesn't have its game save already installed, you go to the backup online and you download it that way. That's where it's a little bit different compared to Xbox, because currently Xbox, in my opinion, has the best service for this. You just turn on the game and it automatically goes, okay, that's the latest save from that other system, and it brings it on over.
Question.
Yep.
Aren't there some games for the Nintendo Switch that don't actually have cloud saves?
It is a possibility.
We didn't test that, did we?
No, I tried it on a bunch of games, and almost everything I was trying it on seemed to work. But there should be, as far as I'm aware, there are certain games that may not support it. I haven't come across those, and I do have quite a few games. But the thing is, that really is up to the player to like keep that stuff in mind. I think personally that you could use this as your portable Switch and use your other Switch as your home Switch. But I just, I don't think anyone really is going to do that. If you have the Switch and it's already portable, would you get this as your secondary?
No, probably not.
Right? And for me, it's just like, the thing is, I think there's going to be a lot more people out there that just want a Switch, and they don't care that you plug it up to your TV. Or in fact, let's make this clear, maybe you already bought a Switch and you never plug it up to a TV. What are you doing? Get yourself a Lite, because that's all this is. It's cheaper, it's more portable, and the beautiful thing about this screen is that the screen is much smaller than this one. Not by a large margin, but just enough, okay? Now, what's funny about this is you're probably thinking, oh, well, it's going to be lower resolution. No. It's the same resolution.
Just a smaller screen.
So that means you have a higher pixel density on this screen, making it look actually sharper. The games don't seem to run better or anything like that, but the screen looks better because of it, and I love that. There are games on the original Switch that kind of have a little bit of a grainier look, a little bit of anti-aliasing and stuff, but when you just bring the screen down just a little bit, it just looks sharper, and I really appreciate that.
But if we didn't get that sent into us,
yes,
would you have bought it?
I gotta be honest, if I had to choose between colors, this comes in 3 colors. There's turquoise, yellow, and magic gray. I don't know what they call it. I'm gonna call it black. I got the black one from Nintendo. If I had the choice and I went out and bought it, I would have got the yellow one. The yellow one looks so much cooler to me.
I missed out on the chance. I want the atomic purple. Remember the atomic purple?
I do remember
from
the atomic
N64
purple.
days?
Yes, I do.
Well, like, buy it then.
I personally think, in the way I feel, because the games I know work portably through the cloud saves, I think I would go with this. I found that I was playing games with far better ease. One of my favorite games to play on the Switch is Tetris 99. You need the D-pad for that, okay? and that's what made this, like, I mean, I know it sounds stupid, get an entire system just because it has a D-pad, but this really made the difference for me. I honestly feel that if Nintendo hadn't sent this in, you know what? After a little bit of time, I probably would have got one. I would have got yellow, but I definitely would have got one of these.
As far as I'm concerned, though, probably not, because I haven't really used the Switch in portable mode. The entire time that I've ever used a Switch, it's always been docked, it's always been hooked up through HDMI to a TV.
Sure.
And the D-pad is not a thing that's ever bothered me because I've used the Pro Controller, and those have it.
Yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to get a bit of pass.
Yeah, but you know what? That's exactly what it's going to be like. There's going to be people that only use the Switch as a home system. If that's the case, likely you're not going to want the Switch Lite. But if you are a portable gamer at heart and you've been on the fence because the last couple of systems you played, or more specifically, if you were a 3DS, a DS, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy fan, this is probably the system you're going to want to get over the original Switch. But that's how I see it. Folks, what do you think? Do you think the Nintendo Switch Lite is better than the original Switch? Or do you believe that the original Switch is better than the Lite? Let us know what you think in the comments below.